Welcome, Jai Hind. BJP must make up its mind on Rahul Gandhi. Is he a Papu? Is he a Shahzada? Or is he an urban naxal? Surely he can't be all of this at the same time. Now let's follow the chronology. When Rahul Gandhi decided to enter Indian politics, which he did under certain very specific circumstances, evidently against his will, he was maligned, ridiculed, stigmatized, damned as a papu. Now, there can't be possibly a worse form of ridiculing a person in public life than calling him a papu. You dare call anybody else a papu, you'll end up in the court. But this damning label was stuck on Rahul Gandhi for years and years. He never reacted. Except once while he was speaking in the parliament, he said, "The BJP calls me a papu, it's up to them. Let them find out for themselves." He never protested. That itself made me respect him, to tell you the truth. I'm not a Rahul follower, whether you like it or not. I have spoken very critically of him in the past, but I am someone who refuses to be a mental slave. I will not repeat what other people are saying. I am not nobody's parrot. I have the freedom to think and the ability to express. I am proud of both. Therefore, I will form my own independent opinions and I will share with whoever I want until I am silenced by the state, which is up to the state to do. Now, on what basis was Rahul Gandhi labeled a papu? Even before he got started, I can understand that somebody has a stint in public life and he proved himself to be a miserable flop, and you then stick this label on him. There is some legitimacy to it. But even before somebody gets going, if you stick the label of a papu on him, it means only one thing, that you're acting out of pure prejudice. And what makes it worse is that you think that everybody else in the country has a duty to agree with you in your prejudice and to parrot your prejudice. So, whenever I expressed an opinion to the contrary, the camp followers of the Sangh Parivar, the cyber supporters of the BJP, as you've seen in the response columns of the various videos in the past, have attacked me, have ridiculed me, and even called me worse. I have no complaint about that because I don't think I have to derive an understanding of who I am through the response either of the cyber gundas or of anybody else. If I do not know who I am, then woe unto me. So, Rahul Gandhi was ridiculed as a papu, and in Kerala, somebody who is supposed to have had a great deal of common sense, V.S. Achyutanandan, called him an Amul baby. Now, obviously, calling somebody an Amul baby is not as bad an appellation as calling him a papu. Anyway, I don't know what V.S. Achyutanandan now posthumously think of the very clever title that he ascribed to Rahul Gandhi. That's beside the point because the man is no more. V.S. Achyutanandan is no more. Now, after some time, when the elections came near, that is in 2013-14, and Narendra Damodar Das Modi, who was at that time the Chief Minister of Gujarat, in order to ridicule Rahul Gandhi, changed the label from Papu to Shahzada. Now, as far as my understanding goes, Shahzada is a Persian word which means prince. Now, the question is, why did Narendra Modi have to use a Persian word to damn Rahul Gandhi? Is it because there is no corresponding word available either in Hindi or in Sanskrit or in Gujarati or in any of the Indian languages, or even in Urdu. No, he must use a Persian word. That is to add insult to injury, to baptize Rahul Gandhi into the Islamic culture and to prove that he is a complete alien to the Hindu identity, the Hindu fold, and the Hindu culture. Whereas time has proved that Rahul Gandhi is far more deeply rooted in the Hindu spiritual tradition, particularly the Shaivite tradition, than most other leaders, political leaders. I happen to know many of them can claim to be. That is beside the point, because I don't think we should bring in religion into political discussions. But since it is pre-exists my attempt to understand what's going on, I had to make a reference, and I want to make the reference as brief as possible. Now, the idea was to damn Rahul Gandhi on two counts. One, on the count of dynastic inheritance, and second, on the count of being soft on Muslims or being sympathetic to the Muslim cause, which is considered to be inherently a betrayal of the Hindu cause. This kind of binary, the irreconcilable opposites, which is again an artificial political construct, because I grew up in Kerala, where for 20 years I saw Muslims and Hindus living quite amicably together. And this idea that Muslims and Hindus have to be warring factions with nothing in common except enmity, the enmity that they share between them, is simply a North Indian construct, and that too not even wholly North Indian. It's a North Indian construct sponsored by the Gujarati lobby for political considerations, political gains. Now, consider the issue of the dynastic advantage that Rahul Gandhi has had. Yeah, there is no denying the fact that he was born in a very distinguished family, perhaps the most distinguished, politically distinguished family in India, the Gandhi Nehru tradition. Now, my question is, should somebody be damned because of his birth, which he could not have chosen? I don't think even Narendra Modi would claim, I don't think anybody in the Sangh Parivar camp would claim that they chose to be born in particular homes to certain parents. Birth is purely an accident quite beyond the reach of individuals. So, that by itself cannot constitute either an advantage or a disadvantage. So, it's neutral. You start neutral. Every child in this world starts on ground zero. But whatever a person claims or can claim to have his own, claim to be his own, has to be built up by him. Nobody can inherit greatness, nobody can inherit political acumen, nobody can inherit richness of experience, and therefore the skill to manage huge national issues. My question to everyone is, has Rahul Gandhi not proved that he has merit on his own? Quite independent of his ancestry, his pedigree, has not Rahul Gandhi by now proved beyond any reasonable doubt, if somebody is in a state of inveterate hatred and habitual prejudice, that person cannot be helped. But to a third party, a neutral observer, I don't think anybody would today disagree that Rahul Gandhi has absolutely proved beyond any shadow of doubt that he is a person of great talent and, more than that, great character strength. I've gone through difficulties in my public life. I can tell you that I am amazed, I am wonderstruck at the resilience Rahul Gandhi has shown so far. I challenge anybody to go through what Rahul Gandhi has gone through in the last 20 years. A man who has been ridiculed. If he turned to the left, he turned to the right, he looked behind, he looked forward, wherever he could see only ridiculing faces, and he did not have any support from his own party. And he braced it, he weathered it all on personal strength. And what fills me with greater admiration is the way he managed and coped with the many electoral setbacks. And these electoral setbacks now seem to assume a different color because of the expose of voter, the stealing of votes, the manipulation of the voter list, and the manipulation of the voting process, etc. All those defeats or the setbacks that the Congress is supposed to have suffered because of Rahul Gandhi will now seem completely different, and all the great rhetoric that was unleashed against him will now boomerang on the very progenitors of that political rhetoric of attack. So that was the first thing. And Rahul Gandhi can be discredited because he was born into a distinguished family. In contrast, of course, Narendra Modi is to be praised, adored, held dear to the heart because he is a person of humble origin, a chaiwala. Now, I salute a person who comes from low and humble origin and reaches the zenith of national distinction. I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that it is a humongous achievement. It is to be adored, it is to be appreciated. But to say that because somebody has had a humble origin and therefore he is a friend of the poor is again a myth which I will not buy. If you are a friend of the poor, you have to show it through the policies that you adopt and put in place. But so far, has Sri Narendra Damodar Das Modi proved a friend of the poor or friend of the richest in this country? I leave that question to all of you. I have nothing to say on this count myself. So, that's as far as the dynastic advantage that Rahul Gandhi has had is concerned. Now come to the second aspect of the Shahzada jibe. In what sense and to what extent has Rahul Gandhi been partial to the Muslim cause? He advocates, like Mahatma Gandhi before him did, that every person should be seen as a citizen, and the accidents of religious labels should not discredit somebody or become the ground on which an individual or a community is discriminated against. Now, that's purely a democratic principle. It's a principle which has tremendous constitutional validity. And to turn that into an attack on him and to argue that because he argues that every citizen should be treated alike, he is on the side of the Muslims and therefore an enemy to the Hindu cause, is the height of absurdity. There's a great deal more needs to be said about it, but then since we do not have much time, let me move on. So, two labels. Papu, from Papu, he was turned into a Zayazada, a prince, a man who was born with not a silver spoon but a gold spoon in his mouth, therefore had all the advantage, so on and so forth. And I hope we have seen through the fallacy of that argument. Now comes the third label, which has been stuck on him quite recently, particularly in the last month and a half. He is now not a Papu, he is not even a Shahzada, he is an urban naxal. And his mission is to jeopardize the national cause, to destabilize the Indian state, to cause public anarchy, so on and so forth. Now, you don't have to be an intellectual to realize that there is manifest incompatibility between these names, these abusive names and labels attached to Rahul Gandhi. If you are a Papu, surely you cannot be a Shahzada. If you are a Shahzada, you cannot be an urban naxal. It's as simple as that. So, from this, the public of India can understand one thing, and that is the ruling elite, those who think that they have the monopoly to corner power and to keep it to themselves and exercise that power forever, they think they have the right to define people on their terms according to their convenience. So, if it suits the convenience of the BJP and the political ideologues of that party to damn Rahul Gandhi as a Papu during a certain period of time, he will be a Papu. If then it suits the convenience of the same party to rename him as Shahzada, then he must become a Shahzada, and the whole country is obliged to repeat the chorus. But then comes a stage when it's no longer paying to damn him either as a Papu or as a Shahzada, then he must become an urban naxal. Now, my job as a thinking person, as an academic, and as an intellectual is this: to enable you to see things in the right perspective. What is the strategy at work here? And that's the only thing I want to explain to you because nobody seems to be clear about this. You read the mainline print media, you listen to all sorts of discussions in the electronic media, you will get no clarity on fundamental principles, first principles, because people are completely alienated from first principles because we have stopped being a thinking people. We are becoming masses who are vulnerable to be manipulated, who take a great deal of pride in parroting what others are saying. We don't think we have a duty to think for ourselves and to come to our own conclusions. Now, what is the principle? What is the strategy at work here? Now, when it comes to a public person like Rahul Gandhi or Narendra Modi or whoever, there are two dimensions to that person's existence. One is the political dimension, and the other is a civil dimension. Or if I may use different sets of words, one is a public dimension and the other is a personal dimension. Or again, if I may use a different set of words, one is an official dimension and the other is a private personal dimension. So, what the Sangh Parivar strategy has done so far is to confuse the public with the private, the political with the civil, the official with the personal. Now, whether Rahul Gandhi is born in an aristocratic family, politically aristocratic family, is not a political issue. A birth cannot be a political issue. It's a purely a civil issue. For example, if Rahul Gandhi is a male or female, cannot be a political issue. If Rahul Gandhi is 5 feet 10 inches tall, or he is only 5 feet 7 inches tall, it's not a political issue. At best, it's a civil issue. So, if Rahul Gandhi is born in this family rather than the other family, it's a civil issue. Likewise, in the case of Modi ji, whether he was the son of a chaiwala or not, it's a civil issue. It's not a political issue. You don't become a political genius simply on account of being born the son of a chaiwala. This is a civil issue. You cannot borrow merit from a civil context and import it into the political context. You have to prove your merit in the political domain all by yourself. Now, the reason why the two categories are mixed and is done deliberately is to confuse the people of India, confuse public opinion altogether, to manufacture or to invoke a prejudice derived from the civil domain, bring it into the political domain to the detriment of your supposed enemy. Now, it is done because the people at large do not have the clarity to understand the rational or logical fallacy in this and realize that a trick is being played upon them. Now, how many of us can say that we have chosen to be born as children of such and such parents in such and such families? Is birth within our choice? Or for that matter, how many of us can say that simply by being born to very distinguished parents, all of us become distinguished? It's a fact of history that mentally stupid children have been born to intellectual geniuses. Likewise, men and women of great promise, great aptitudes have been born to parents of very ordinary background. So, a person's achievement is not a matter of pedigree or DNA or RNA or INA. It's a matter of his personal struggle, his personal character, his personal destiny, his personal achievement. And unless and until we are clear on this, we will lend ourselves to a whole series of unjust posturing and diabolic advocacies, which may contribute to the political gain of certain persons and parties, but will be corrupting our soul and denigrating our personal integrity in the process. What do you and I have to gain from doing this? There was a time when I thought that Rahul Gandhi was not cut out for politics, and I published 4 articles stating that because that was my conviction. And that was in the say between 2004 and 2009. But then when I began to observe him in action, and slowly the realization dawned on him that I was perhaps wrong. I wasn't 100% sure at that time. I was perhaps wrong, and my view was prejudicial. I kept quiet about it for some time. I did not immediately jump into justifying him or correcting my mistake. I wanted to give it more time. I wanted him to prove himself beyond any shadow of doubt that he was not what he was painted out to be. And fortunately, over the next 10 years, he did. And today I'm left with absolutely no shadow of doubt that this young man is way beyond what I had taken him to be. And that if there is one politician in this country whom the common man can trust and repose their hopes on, it is Rahul Gandhi and nobody else. There is no friend to the poor like Rahul Gandhi. There is no friend to an Indian citizen like Rahul Gandhi. There is no one who has the courage of conviction consistently as Rahul Gandhi has. There is no one who is showing the kind of political maturity that Rahul Gandhi is showing. And above all, there is no one who is showing the kind of solidity of character and what Mahatma Gandhi called character and soul force as Rahul Gandhi is showing. And therefore, if anyone insists on continuing with the old prejudice against him, that person does so to his own detriment, to the effect only of corrupting himself and proving himself to be a victim of prejudice, as a person infected with irrationality and prejudicial negativity. I do not want to be in that category. Now, it's very interesting, therefore, for me as a neutral third-party observer, that today the BJP, which reveled in utter self-confidence in reviling and ridiculing Rahul Gandhi as a papu, does not simply know how to handle this young man. That's the reason why they are forced against their will, to migrate from one label of abuse to another. From Papu to Shahzada, from Shahzada to urban naxal, and from an urban naxal to what tomorrow? To Mahatma? Because after all, to many in this particular camp, there is nothing more hateful than the idea of the Mahatma. Because we are not unaware of the fact that during Gandhi Jayanti celebrations a few years ago, members of a certain ideological bloc used Mahatma Gandhi's image, Mahatma Gandhi's effigy, for target practice. There are some people who believe that Mahatma Gandhi is the source of all the evils that afflict the country. There are some others who believe that, no, that distinction must be given to and reserved for Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, my only submission to everyone is, please, for God's sake, think for yourself. Do not submit your reasoning power to somebody else's keeping. Do not allow people to use as a dumping ground of your prejudices. You are blessed with brains and the capacity to think, examine evidence, and come to your own conclusions. Why don't you use these God-given gifts and talents? After all, that will do you some credit. So, my own conclusion is this: Rahul Gandhi is neither a papu, nor a Shahzada, nor an urban Naxalite. He is someone who has committed himself to defending the Indian Constitution, which is a national duty that every citizen is bound to accept and discharge. And therefore, merely as an Indian citizen, I have no hesitation in placing on record publicly, unapologetically, my sense of solidarity, not necessarily with the person of Rahul Gandhi, but with the mission of Rahul Gandhi, and that is conditional to the fact that this solidarity with his mission will remain only as long as he does not deviate from that mission. The moment he deviates from a compromises that mission even marginally, fractionally, I will withdraw that sense of solidarity and I'll speak my mind about him and against him. There's no question about it. Because that's my right and privilege as a free citizen of India. I'm not a bond slave to anyone. So, today the BJP is in a real quandary. They do not know what sense to make of Rahul Gandhi. But again, I must say that there is poetic justice in this, that if you ridicule a person for no rhyme or reason, it will come home to you and haunt you. As I remember to have read in a small book way back in the 70s, a sentence to this effect. It was a book about the youth movement globally, which was at its peak at that time. It says, the cat that you tormented and cast out of the house became a tiger that leapt up upon you from your bedroom. That's a sentence. The cat that you tormented and threw out of your home became in your backyard a tiger that leapt upon you from your bedroom. I'm afraid something like that is happening to the BJP. I feel sorry for them. But it's not too late for the BJP to correct its evil ways, because please understand that the people of India today are far better informed than you give them credit for. And the vast majority of the people are armed and equipped with goodwill. They will not remain your bond slave, and they will not go on lapping up your false propaganda. You are actually discrediting yourself, inviting public ridicule, and doing no good to yourself. At least try to appear to be just and fair. As of now, it's a case of being blatantly, aggressively, belligerently unfair. This cannot go on. It will boomerang. I'm afraid it has begun to boomerang. It may not happen to you. It's not too late to correct your ways. Rahul Gandhi is not a Papu. Rahul Gandhi is not Sehzada. Rahul Gandhi is not an urban naxal. He is increasingly becoming the focal point of the hopes and aspirations of all except the ruling socio-economical political elite. Jai Hind.